I had missed flights before. I had lost luggage before. I had even spent lonely birthdays sitting inside crowded airport terminals, watching strangers reunite while wondering why life always seemed to move forward for everyone except me. But nothing, absolutely nothing, prepared me for the moment a terrified young woman rushed through the crowd, grabbed my arm with trembling fingers, looked straight into my eyes, and silently pleaded for help with tears already forming. Before I could even understand what was happening, she leaned close enough for only me to hear, and whispered that I needed to pretend to be her husband for the next 40 minutes, because if I didn't, her entire life might be destroyed before our flight was even called. If you believe that one act of kindness can completely change a stranger's life, please take a second to like this video. Leave a comment telling us where you're watching from. Share this story with someone who still believes in second chances, and subscribe to the channel for more emotional stories that remind us humanity still exists. I stood frozen inside Terminal C, clutching a cup of coffee that had already gone cold. My name is Ethan Brooks, 38 years old, a widowed father raising my 8-year-old daughter Lily. I was traveling alone to Seattle for a construction management interview after nearly 18 months of unemployment. Losing my wife to cancer had taken more than my soulmate. It had stolen my confidence, my direction, and almost my hope. Every interview felt like another reminder that life no longer rewarded hard work the way I believed it once had. The woman standing beside me looked completely out of place among the hurried travelers. She wore an elegant cream-colored blazer over a pale blue dress, expensive enough to suggest success, but wrinkled enough to reveal she had been under enormous stress. Her blonde hair was carefully styled, yet strands had escaped and clung to her tear-stained face. Her hands shook so violently that she could barely hold the boarding pass pressed against her chest. She wasn't acting. Whatever terrified her was very real. Without waiting for permission, she slipped her arm through mine and rested her head lightly against my shoulder. Her heartbeat seemed fast enough that I could almost feel it through her sleeve. She whispered that 2 men near the information desk had been following her since she entered the airport nearly 30 minutes earlier. They believed she was traveling alone. They couldn't know she had escaped them. They couldn't think she was vulnerable. My first instinct was to tell airport security immediately, but she begged me not to. She explained that security had already failed her once earlier that week, when she reported being followed outside her office. The men always disappeared before officers arrived. They never threatened her directly. They simply watched, they waited, they let fear do the work. As I carefully looked around without turning my head too obviously, I noticed 2 well-dressed men pretending to scroll through their phones while never taking their eyes off us. Every time she shifted closer to me, they quietly repositioned themselves. Something inside me changed. Maybe it was because I remembered how helpless I had felt watching doctors tell my wife there was nothing more they could do. Maybe it was because Lily had taught me that brave people aren't fearless. They simply refuse to let fear decide what happens next. Whatever the reason, I quietly wrapped my arm around the frightened stranger as naturally as any husband would. For the first time since grabbing me, her shoulders relaxed. She finally introduced herself as Claire. Over the next several minutes, we walked slowly through the terminal like a married couple waiting for boarding. We stopped at bookstore windows. We shared a sandwich she insisted on buying. We laughed louder than necessary whenever those men came close enough to hear us. We created an ordinary life together from complete fiction. Yet beneath every smile, I could see Claire's eyes scanning reflections in the glass. Eventually, she trusted me enough to explain everything. Claire wasn't simply running from obsessive strangers. She was the temporary CEO of her late father's billion-dollar logistics company after his unexpected death 6 months earlier. Before he passed away, he uncovered evidence that someone inside the company had been secretly diverting millions of dollars through fake international contracts. He had collected proof, but died before exposing everyone involved. Only Claire knew where the evidence was hidden. The people responsible believed she intended to deliver everything to federal investigators after arriving in Seattle. That was why she couldn't miss this flight. That was why they wanted to frighten her into disappearing before she ever reached the meeting. I stared at her in disbelief. This sounded like something from a movie, yet nothing about Claire suggested she was exaggerating. She looked exhausted in the way only someone carrying unbearable responsibility could. I told her I wasn't special, I wasn't trained, I wasn't a hero. She smiled sadly and admitted that perhaps that was exactly why she had chosen me. She said I looked like a man who had experienced real loss, because only people who understand pain recognize it immediately in someone else's face. Those words stayed with me. For the next 20 minutes, we became experts at pretending. We discussed imaginary anniversary vacations. We joked about fictional arguments over whose turn it was to wash dishes. We even laughed about an invented daughter who sounded suspiciously similar to my real Lily. Oddly enough, pretending to be someone's husband reminded me how deeply I still missed being one. As boarding time approached, the two men became noticeably impatient. One of them finally began walking directly toward us. Every instinct told me something bad was about to happen. Instead of panicking, Claire quietly squeezed my hand. I realized she was no longer asking me to save her. She simply didn't want to face whatever happened alone. The man stopped only a few feet away. His smile never reached his eyes. He looked directly at Claire before glancing toward me with obvious disappointment, as though discovering she wasn't alone had complicated his plans. He casually asked whether everything was all right. Before Claire could answer, I instinctively stepped slightly in front of her. I calmly explained that my wife wasn't feeling well after an exhausting business trip, and that we'd appreciate some privacy before our flight. The man studied my face for several long seconds. My heart pounded so loudly I thought everyone nearby could hear it. Finally, he nodded politely and walked away. But instead of leaving the terminal, both men disappeared toward another gate. Claire whispered that this was worse. It meant they were changing plans. Moments later, airport security officers suddenly approached us. For one terrifying second, I thought Claire had been right, that nobody would believe her. Instead, one officer quietly addressed her by name. A federal investigator had finally connected multiple reports involving the same suspects at 3 different airports. Surveillance teams had identified the men moments earlier. They had already been detained before reaching another exit. Relief washed across Claire's face so powerfully that she nearly collapsed. She cried openly, not because the danger was over. Because for the first time in months, she no longer had to keep looking over her shoulder. During our flight, neither of us slept. Instead, we spoke honestly about life. I told her about losing my wife, Emily, about learning how to braid Lily's hair by watching online videos, about pretending to be stronger than I really was because children deserve stability even when parents are breaking inside. Claire told me about growing up with wealth but very little affection. Her father loved building companies more than building relationships. Only after his death did she discover letters he had written but never mailed, apologizing for every birthday he had missed. Success had cost him the moments he could never buy back. Somewhere above the clouds, 2 strangers carrying completely different scars discovered they weren't as alone as they had believed. When we landed in Seattle, federal agents met Claire. Before leaving, she thanked me with tears in her eyes. She offered me a large check. I refused immediately. Helping someone shouldn't come with a price. She didn't argue. Instead, she simply asked where my interview would be held the following morning. I gave her the address without thinking much about it. The next day, I walked into the tallest office building I had ever entered. The receptionist smiled strangely when I gave my name. Instead of directing me toward a waiting room, she escorted me into a massive conference room overlooking the city skyline. Sitting at the head of the table was Claire. Around her sat the company's entire executive board. For a brief moment, I thought I had accidentally entered the wrong meeting. Claire stood and smiled. She explained that while investigators handled the criminal case, the company still faced another crisis. Years of corruption had destroyed employee trust. She wasn't looking only for experienced managers anymore. She was looking for leaders whose character remained steady when nobody was watching. Then she looked directly at me. She reminded everyone that an unemployed widower with nothing to gain had risked his own safety for a complete stranger without asking who she was or what she could offer. She said skills could be taught, integrity could not. That day, I wasn't simply offered the construction management position. I was asked to lead an entirely new division dedicated to rebuilding communities through affordable housing projects funded by the company's recovery efforts. The salary changed my life. But the mission changed my heart. For the first time since Emily died, I woke each morning believing my future still mattered. Months later, Lily met Claire. Watching them laugh together while building birdhouses during one of our community volunteer events filled me with emotions I hadn't allowed myself to feel in years. Claire never tried replacing anyone. She simply became someone who genuinely cared. Lily adored her. Our friendship grew slowly, naturally, without pressure. Healing never arrives all at once. It comes through countless ordinary moments that quietly remind us life hasn't finished writing our story. One rainy afternoon, nearly 2 years after we first met inside that airport terminal, Lily handed me a folded piece of paper. She had drawn 3 stick figures holding hands beneath an airplane. Above them, she had written one sentence in careful handwriting. She wrote that sometimes God sends strangers before he sends family. I couldn't stop crying. Neither could Claire. If this story has touched your heart even a little, please support the channel by liking this video, subscribing, sharing it with your family and friends, and telling us in the comments whether you believe kindness always finds its way back to the people who give it away. Special comment request. Before you leave, please write "Kindness changes everything" in the comments if you believe one courageous decision can change someone's entire future. Looking back now, I often think about how close I came to missing that moment. If I had walked a little faster, finished my coffee a little earlier, or ignored the frightened woman who grabbed my arm, our lives would have traveled in completely different directions. One unexpected act of courage became the bridge between grief and hope, loneliness and family, despair and purpose. It reminded me that life's greatest miracles rarely arrive with grand announcements. Sometimes they begin with trembling hands, silent trust, and 40 unforgettable minutes inside a crowded airport terminal. And sometimes, the stranger who asks for your help today becomes the reason you believe in tomorrow again.